This is David Rovics with a song for today. One songwriter's take on the history of the world, one song at a time. Available wherever you get your podcasts. Many of the British subjects who first made up the settler population of Australia were brought there in chains, deported to the other side of the world for stealing a loaf of bread and that sort of thing. Others came more willingly, as was at least nominally the case with many of the tens of thousands who came from around Europe, California, and elsewhere to dig for gold during the Victoria Gold Rush of 1851, which came on the heels of the California Gold Rush of 1849. As was the case in California, some of the early arrivals did very well on the gold fields. Over the years, gold became more scarce, and government efforts to collect land taxes became more aggressive. This was an explosive combination, which led more or less directly to a collective refusal among the gold diggers to pay the tax, combined with an organized, armed rebellion. The organizers of the movement on the gold fields of Victoria often came from the pits that required the greatest number of people working together to operate them. They had learned about collective action by organizing as a collective. Some of them were also veterans of the European uprisings of 1848. One was a former soldier, an African-American man who had come from California. The refusal to pay the tax brought in the British military as expected. The armed resistance the soldiers faced resulted in more a massacre than a battle, but among the dozens that lay dead in the wake of it, several of them were British soldiers. The terrified business elite of Melbourne was building barricades in the expectation of an invasion of angry miners, which never arrived. A month after the massacre, thousands of miners demonstrated, unbowed, still refusing to pay the tax. As a result of the movement of the gold diggers that became known as the Eureka Stockade, all of the basic demands of the miners were ultimately met. An end to the tax, a piece of land, the vote, and other rights in Australia were won in collective struggle and bloodshed, not given freely, not at all. As is generally how things work, contrary to the mythology presented in many textbooks.
From every corner of the world, they came from all around. When in 1851 they struck gold upon the ground. Every voyage was a long one, months upon the stormy sea. Some to seek their fortune, others escaping slavery. What they found on the gold fields was rule by brutish thugs, discrimination and taxation mixed with swinging billy clubs. The gold was getting scarcer and cops were getting worse. The diggers burned their licenses and vowed to end this curse. They swore an oath beneath the Southern Cross. They'd stand together and break the license laws. From 20 different nations they gathered here as one in Ballarat beneath the southern sun. The Crown tried to divide them, giving preference to some. The diggers wouldn't have it, they said it's all of us or none. They built a stockade while the redcoats massed nearby, and they heard the miners shouting, "We're ready now to die." The rebel miners waited for whatever lay in store, and on one December morning in 1854 the redcoats attacked the camp. Dozens there would fall amongst these brave gold diggers who'd risen to the call. They swore an oath beneath the Southern Cross. They'd stand together and break the license laws. From 20 different nations they gathered here as one in Ballarat beneath the southern sun. The army thought it was over and things would go their way. But when 15,000 miners rallied a month later on the day, the Crown conceded everything, all of their demands. They'd won an end to license fees, the right to vote and land. So here's to Joe and Charlie, Waller and the rest. They drew the battle lines and put crown rule to the test. The diggers may have lost the battle, but they quickly won the day, and those shots fired in Victoria were heard 10,000 miles away. They swore an oath beneath the Southern Cross. They'd stand together and break the license laws. From 20 different nations they gathered here as one in Ballarat beneath the southern sun. They swore an oath beneath the Southern Cross. They'd stand together and break the license laws. From 20 different nations they gathered here as one in Ballarat beneath the southern sun.
This has been a Song for Today from David Rovics, making popular education popular again. If you go to davidrovics.com, you can hear lots of other episodes of this and other podcasts, see where I'm touring next, and get on my email list. You can also click on CSA there on my website and join my community-supported art program, which is mainly how I get by in the free streaming era. I hope to see you sometime soon again here on the internet or on the road and hopefully in the streets.